Who's ever been in a bulk bin that was empty like this one? No one ever. In addition to all the grains, they have all the flours and the pastas, and also the polenta, labeled as yellow corn grits. Fill it to the brim. I'm here for the polenta, and nothing but the polenta. I love just to have polenta around. Do not avoid polenta, people. Just go straight for it. All right, that's a lot. I think one recipe of polenta is 2 cups, and that's gonna fill up a jar. Black and white orzo, did you ever? Everybody loves polenta. I love polenta. I used to avoid getting polenta because it was the thing that you had to do when you had 40 minutes and a free mind to meditate on the stirring of the polenta. First, you would have to bring the water up to a simmer. Then, with hands that had been trained through years of grandma-style cooking, you would slowly whisk and drop the polenta in like a grain-by-grain stream. You don't have to do that. So you just whisk it all together. Cup of polenta, 4 cups of water. So that's salt and pepper. That's all you need. Pressure cooker's over high, so when we see this little nozzle guy come up to high pressure, that's when I'll start the timer. So the other thing that inspired this recipe was one day at the farmer's market, there was just the most unbelievable looking rainbow Swiss chard. It was such an enormous, beautiful bunch that when I got it home, I couldn't actually fit it in the refrigerator. So I put the polenta on and I made myself lunch that day. And that's what this is. People don't know that this part you don't have to waste. It has like a nice crunchy texture and it has really good flavor too. So I'm stripping the leaves off. I'm not even using a knife. This is how I do kale too. I'm gonna saute the stems with the garlic. The thing about greens is that they look like a lot until you start to cook them, and then they disappear, but also it's a lot easier to store cooked greens in your refrigerator than raw. I'll just saute everything I've got, and maybe I would have leftover polenta, and then I would fry the polenta up in a pan and put the leftover greens on top of that. What are you guys calling that these days? Nextovers? Do you hear that? So it's making a little burbling noise. So just as if you were making rice or something and you start to hear the top of the pot jiggle a little bit, that's good. And in this kitchen, I'm like doing all these concurrent things, and I'm looking at what I'm doing, and I have to rely on the other senses to make sure what's happening is happening. This garlic is going to be for the chard. Really pretty purple garlic. If you're an onion person, throw some of that in there. If you don't like garlic, use shallots, whatever you want to saute your greens with. It could just be olive oil and the greens and salt and pepper, and it'll be great. You could add spices to it. This is the other thing that's cool about pressure cooking is that if it gets a little bit high, all you have to do is release the steam. The polenta facial, trending now. Swiss chard stems are also great grilled. So if you have them in the summer, you can toss them with a little olive oil, grill them. And I'm gonna cut them pretty fine. The smaller I cut them now, the faster they will cook. And I'm trying to preserve the texture. I like that little bit of crunch. Olive oil. If you like coconut oil, if you like butter, if you like vegetable oil, use those things. I like to put the chili flake in at the beginning, but you do have to be a little bit careful about burning. The olive oil and the juices from the chard are gonna get together and kind of make a sauce that will have a really pretty color. It's just about making food that tastes good. And I think olive oil makes things taste delicious. The other thing I did was I left some water on the Swiss chard stems. That moisture on the leaves will add to this whole saucy pan situation that's happening. The oil is turning reddish orange, both from the chili flake and the stems. If you have your polenta already in the house, then you can pass your farmer's market and whatever green looks really, really beautiful, you don't really have to think about it. You already have what you need at home to transform a bunch of greens into like what I consider a totally satisfying meal. I'm gonna try one of these. It's a little bit crunchy. It's really well seasoned. I'm gonna put the greens in now. And I really like to cook tender greens like this. I'm just cooking them enough to take the raw off of them. That's kind of all they need. There's our timer. See, the polenta was done before the greens. When has that ever happened? Plus I had my free hands. This is the meditative part, you know? In normal polenta, the meditative part is the slow whisking, but in this, it's really just the steam release. Everybody's got to blow off some steam sometimes. So it looks wrong, but it's fine. Now is time for the whisking. You can feel it stuck a little on the bottom, but the more I whisk it, it's pulling away. This is grated parm. All right, moment of truth. It looks like polenta. This is perfect. When polenta's undercooked, you know it because the grains are chalky and gross, chewy, crunchy. Not good, stick in your teeth. At this point, I don't think it needs any salt, maybe some herbs. You want to cut your herbs right before you use them. You get this really fresh, bright flavor of the chopped herbs at the end, and that's gonna mix in with those cooked greens. And that's the texture you want, pourable. You could do this on a weeknight. You can see the little stems too. There's like these little braising juices from the chard. 9-minute polenta. They said it couldn't be done and then I did it. All right, if you need me, I'll be in the